Malunga lendlu yeshamthetho ngizocela ukuthi sibe nomzuzwana wokuthi sizibuyise siziqoqe sikhuleke uma ngabe siyafuna ukukhuleka. Singahlala phansi. Order, honorable members. Honorable members, I would like to announce that questions that were transferred from written to oral reply and placed on the question paper have since been removed on the question paper upon receipt of the replies in terms of Rule 146, subsection 2. Consequently, there will be no additional 30 minutes to today's question session. I've also been informed that the Minister of Defense and Military Veteran is not available to answer questions today. The Minister has requested that the questions stand over in terms of Rule 144, subsection 1, subsection A, and Rule 144, subsection 2. The reason for the absence, there's an urgent meeting of the SADC Ministers of Defense and Ministers of Foreign Affairs to discuss the pertinent issues in the region. The questions will therefore stand over, and these questions will be scheduled in consultation with the Programming Committee. Order. Honorable members, the only item on today's order paper is questions addressed to ministers in Cluster 1, Peace and Security. There are 4 supplementary questions on each question. Parties have given an indication of which questions their members wish to pose a supplementary question on. Adequate notice was given to parties for this purpose. The members who will pose supplementary questions will be recognized by the presiding officer. In allocating opportunities for supplementary questions, the principle of fairness, among others, has been applied. When all the supplementary questions have been answered by the executive, we will proceed to the next question in the order paper. Honorable members, given some of the constraints we have experienced, ministers and members may remain seated while answering or asking questions during this question session. The first question, if I may ask Honorable Member Nchingila, oh, sorry, if I can ask one of your members next, there's a mic that is open there, if you can help me to switch it off. Thank you very much, Honorable Skosana. The first question has been asked by the Honorable Member Klute to the Minister of Police. The question is about the key policy priorities focus of the SAPS to deal with crime in the 25-26 financial year, especially contact crime in the face of the fiscal constraints reality. The Honorable the Minister.
Thank you very much, Speaker. I know that you have given us privilege to sit, but I'm used to standing out of respect of yourself and the Parliament. It is to be noted that in terms of the third quarter crime statistics in South Africa, there was demonstration of reduction
Speaker.
in a number of crimes.
Order, Honourable Member. Yes, Honourable Trollip.
Honourable Speaker, the sound is really not good, so I'm going to appeal to the Minister to speak into the mic so that those of us who have to answer his response, I couldn't hear you. I'm asking you to speak closer to the mic. Or use the mic that's in front of him, because that handheld mic is not clear.
Thank you, Honourable Member. We will continue to ask the team that's dealing with IT to also assist us. Honorable member, service officer, we have been advised that the mic that you are giving the minister is not audible. Can he try to use the mic on the table? Minister.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. We want to draw the attention in response to that question, the attention of the House, National Assembly, to the fact that the latest or third quarter crime statistics showed a reduction in a number of crimes. Whilst increases were recorded in certain crimes, the outlook overall is positive. The South African Police Service has identified a number of priorities for 25-26 in order to continue the organization's efforts to address crimes within the prevailing budget constraints. First, it is the full implementation of the ICVPS, that is the Integrated Crime and Violence Prevention Strategy, which was agreed upon 2022 by Cabinet. That is in place, and we intend increasingly and fully implementing it. Second one is this effort is supported by Operation Chanela, which happens in all provinces as and when provincial commissioners decide the area and the period. And apart from that, currently we are in the middle of discussions to be finalized on the 13th of March this year to review VISPOL, that branch called visible policing. It's quite a huge branch, takes a chunk of the budget. It has got a number of people, including a number of units that are important in combating crime. We are looking at possibility of dividing it into two. VISPOL on one hand, that's responsible for police stations, that is uniform police, visibility, and all those related matters. But also another section headed by another divisional commissioner, the combating side of VISPOL, which will house a number of units that are there combating crime, including your TRT, your National Intervention and Task Force, and a number of other activities. This will also see the introduction of new units like murder and robbery, which will also integrate things like taxi violence, crimes, and all of those matters. So by the end of the month, we will know exactly where we stand after the meeting on the 13th. And then thereafter, the whole overall purpose is to strengthen our hand on the ground so that most of our resources and most of our actions take place on the ground.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Your time is up. Honorable Klute.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Minister, the recent crime statistics shows that the police are making positive impact in the fight against crime, as most of the crimes have declined, though marginally in the third quarter of 2024-2025 financial year. How will the police intensify its fight against crime, especially focusing on the crime of assault and sexual assault, as they seem to be increasing as per the crime stats report? I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister.
Speaker, I think it is like the first complaint when you don't hear the chunk of the question, although you see the member. I would ask that maybe she comes back in a summarized way so that I can hear clearly.
Thank you. Honorable Member Klute, can you please not stand up, just sit so that you can speak on the mic. The Minister did not hear your question. And may I ask members in that corner, Honorable Nolumango, if you can please sit down, because unfortunately in that corner where the speaker is, it's a bit distracting. Thank you. Honorable Klute.
Okay, thank you, Madam Speaker. The recent crime statistics shows that the police are making positive impact in the fight against crime, as most of the crime have declined, though marginally in the third quarter of 2024-2025 financial year. How will the police intensify its fight against crime, especially focusing on the crime of assault and sexual assault, as they seem to be increasing as per crime stats report? I thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Minister.
Well, as indicated, that we do note that we have to do exactly what the member is asking, intensifying a fight against crime on the ground. Now, we are saying we are going to be doing this through the review of our combat side of fighting crime, which will be quite a drastic change in terms of how things stand at the moment. And in terms of relevant units, I may as well take this opportunity and indicate that high in our priority list is murder. 2, it is firearms, both legal and illegal firearms. 3, it is rape and other GBV crimes. And also immigration, together with tightening our entry and exit points in line with the strategy that has been outlined and agreed on for the 7th administration.
Thank you. Honorable Mahlatsi.
Thank you, Speaker. Minister, how will the South African Police Service integrate intelligence-driven police strategy to proactively target and dismantle criminal networks?
Honorable Mahlatsi, I'm sorry if you can just come closer to the mic and raise your voice a little bit.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Ngozi. Minister, how will South African Police Service integrate intelligence-driven policing strategy to proactively target and dismantle criminal networks, particularly those driving contact crimes, while optimizing limited resources in 2025 financial year?
Thank you, Honorable Minister.
Well, it is clear to us that there is a push along the lines of organized crime and syndicates of one kind or the other, gangs, inkabi, all those forms of organized crime and criminal syndicates. It is for that reason that we are saying we do have units that have capacity to deal directly with those. And it has been demonstrated in the recent past that there is, in fact, that capacity where we go for exactly those syndicates, and those who are heading them and their members. But I must add that we do need partnerships, because all these people who are involved, whether it is gangs and so on, they are in the community. And we want communities to come forward and reject crime as a base, and they be united, and then it will be easy to work with them.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Trollip.
Thank you, Speaker. I'm going to speak from our chair, if you don't mind. It's encouraging that a member from the governing party is asking a question around crime, and she makes reference to fiscal constraints. Thank you, Minister, for telling us about the ICVPS and Operation Shanyela. But the most effective way to prevent crime is to have bobbies on the beat. having policemen on the street. But the problem with that is that our police force is demoralized because they continuously make arrests of people who are let out by the criminal justice system. And if they aren't let out, they continue to ply their trade from correctional services. And you yourself have just mentioned syndicates. What are you going to do, Minister, to make sure that we get more police on the street to prevent crime at source, never mind crime from prisons? Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister.
I've already indicated that it is extremely important that we mobilize communities. As I'm speaking, I know on Thursday that some people around Western Cape have expressed their intentions to be better organized to confront crime in their locations and in their places. But that's one. So we need partnership. But secondly, we do need to emphasize the need to partner with sister departments, the Department of Justice, Department of Correctional Services. Indeed, it is very disturbing to continue to have criminals that are already locked in the correctional service, facility.
Order, honourable members. Honourable Kodongwana, can you please go back on the back aisle and walk to your seat? Because I'm sure as you are walking, ministers are asking how much budget are you going to have?
He's getting lost.
Order.
Thank you.
Can we allow the
We
minister?
might lose our budget.
Order, Honourable Jingila. Can we allow Minister Nkunu to answer?
Yes, we do need money, but in a particular way. The need to have boots on the ground goes with the recruitments that we have done in the last 3 years. And we have an intake that joined this particular year. They started their training. We acknowledge the need to increase numbers. We acknowledge the need to work with a metro police where there are metro police and communities. That will increase eyes and ears and feet on the ground. And we're consistently looking at that. But as I say, we want to get more attention, pay more attention on the ground, even including on the infrastructure of police stations. We are finding an alternative to what is existing at the moment, so that we increase our focus and attention on the ground. But you are right, uniform is important.
Thank you,
but
Honourable
intelligence
Minister.
is also important. Thank you.
Honourable Sol.
Thank you, Speaker. I'll take the question for Honourable Source. Honourable Minister, seeing that your ministry cancelled your publicly promised meeting about alleged corruption in Eldorado Park, at the Eldorado Park police station, is dealing with the fake cases, the arrest of innocent people without investigation, and the abuse of power a key policy priority? Thank you.
Honourable Minister.
Madam Chair, I didn't get the actual question.
Honourable Member, can you please repeat your question?
Honourable Minister, seeing that your ministry cancelled your publicly promised meeting about alleged corruption at the Eldorado Park police station, is dealing with fake cases, the arrest of innocent people without investigation, and the abuse of power a key policy priority? Thank you.
Honourable Minister, I suppose that might be a statement and a reflection from members that there is an issue that is still unresolved in respect of what communities had reported in Eldorado Park police station and the concerns that members are having on what is happening there. Maybe the minister can respond or will... Yes.
Yes, I would prefer that we touch base with the member at the end of the session so that we can get more details. But generally, we have shaped ourselves such that we are able to follow up. We have built capacity within the ministry to follow up effectively, and also with police themselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Member, you can contact the Minister at the end of the session. Honorable Paulson, is there a point of order?
Not a point of order, Chairperson. If you don't mind, I'll sit so that I can speak better.
Yes, I had given all of you permission to speak.
Speaker, is there any
seated.
chance that the Minister could occupy a seat here in front? He's speaking from the back here. We could actually see him better. He's hiding all the way there, and I don't know why.
Well, Honorable
there are other members here.
Honorable
here.
Paulson, order. I think not seeing the face of the minister does not mean you can't hear the minister. I appreciate that you'd like to see the face of the minister. Maybe just look at the screen a little bit. Thank you very much. The second question, question number 22, has been asked by the Honorable N.G. Maybach to the minister in the presidency. The question is whether, given the alleged egregious abuse of intelligence services for the personal and political interests of former President Zuma by 3 former ministers of state security, she intends to implement the appropriate consequence management steps to safeguard the service against any such abuse in future and institute any criminal justice procedures against the specified individuals concerned. I've been informed by the Minister that the Deputy Minister will be answering questions on behalf of the Minister. Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, SSA is cooperating with relevant law enforcement agencies' bodies, instructed by the President to investigate and, where appropriate, prosecute those implicated in criminal activities highlighted in the Judicial Commission of Inquiry into allegations of state capture. In addition, SSA is finalizing the establishment of an independent panel as per the recommendation of the high-level review panel to conduct internal disciplinary prosecutions on the manifest breaches of the law, regulations, and other prescripts as reported in the Commission, the high-level review panel, and other investigations report. This panel should commence its work either in the month of April or at the latest May 2025. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Honorable Maybach.
Thank you, Speaker. Would the Deputy Minister not agree that failing to take appropriate steps, including criminal justice procedures, and coming up with concrete and tangible consequence management steps against known individuals that have been identified by both the Zondo Commission, by the high-level review panel, individuals such as Maruti Nozi, Arthur Fraser, Tulani Dlomo, and many others, people that are known to us, individuals that have been identified frequently. We know what they did. We know the resources that they looted in order, amongst other things, to wage factional battles within the ANC on behalf of Jacob Zuma. Would he not agree that failing to provide the public with concrete and tangible steps as to what is being pursued vis-a-vis these individuals does not only represent a defeat of justice, but also makes a mockery of the government's commitment to fighting corruption, as stated time and again in multiple sonas by the President of the Republic? And if he doesn't agree with this assessment, what could possibly bring him to a different conclusion?
Honorable Deputy Minister.
Well, Chairperson, I agree that we need to put finality to these matters. And that is why the independent directorate, which focuses on investigations in the National Prosecuting Authority, is seized with the matter to inter alia investigate the allegations as recommended by the Zondo Commission, test the veracity of the allegations, and appropriately respond to such an investigation through either prosecution or any other measure. So we agree that we need to bring finality to this matter, and that appropriate law enforcement agencies which are competent will have to bring finality to this matter. And that is why we are emphasizing that SSA is cooperating with all law enforcement agencies to ensure that all information that is required from the part of SSA is volunteered to those who are competent to investigate this matter. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Honorable H.D. Dlagute.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Deputy Minister, given the concerns regarding the alleged abuse of intelligence services, could you please outline the specific institutional reforms and legislative amendments that are being instituted to strengthen the governance within the state security? Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. You would know, Honorable Dlagute, that the Minister has initiated a development of an operating model for SSA. That operating model is seized with ensuring that we depoliticize SSA. Secondly, we are completing a skills audit whose purpose is to ensure that we have a personnel in SSA that is fit for purpose, but also that we deal with all related skills gaps. You would note that this House has finalized the General Intelligence Law Amendment Bill, GLAB, whose focus is inter alia to deal with all other related gaps. You'd note that the high-level review panel on state security inter alia identified that the separation of the state or two branches in the main, the South African Secret Services and the National Intelligence Agency, was inconsistent with the law, and therefore, as a result, brought weaknesses into the operation of the state security agency. And those are legislative matters that would have been dealt with in this House. As you know, the President is seized with the bill. At an appropriate time, he, after applying his mind as the Constitution of the Republic dictates, he will either send to the bill or appropriately pronounce himself on the next.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much.
Honorable Ghana.
So, Deputy Minister, on two occasions in your response, you have referred to the finality of these matters of people who have abused their powers, especially in the intelligence services. I want to ask that what is the kind, in your view, of how this finality looks like? If you were to paint a picture for South Africans to the people who abuse their offices, finality, how does it look like?
Honorable Deputy Minister.
Well, in the first instance, I am not competent or empowered to make pronouncements on investigations into criminal conduct. But what we can say is that we have, and we want to repeat what we said earlier, that we are cooperating with relevant law enforcement agencies to make sure that those who are involved in bringing this institution into disrepute are brought to book. So if there are those who are found to be in contravention with the law, they will be appropriately prosecuted by the National Prosecuting Authority. That is what the finality looks like. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Honorable Denner.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Deputy Minister, thank you for acknowledging that there are many weaknesses within the State Security Agency, and we can all safely say to each other that these weaknesses have been sufficiently exploited during the 9 missing years, during the time of state capture by the likes of former President Zuma and the former ministers that have been mentioned. I know that you cannot expressly say things on criminal investigations, but I'd like to know in your political capacity, when will we finally see and start seeing pressure and the real political will to prosecute and keep to account those responsible for exploiting weaknesses in systems to, at the end of the day, exploit the South African public, like the likes of former President Zuma and the ministers mentioned? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Deputy Minister.
Well, as I said, that we have established an independent panel to deal with relevant SSA personnel that are involved in malfeasance. And we hope that this process, as we said, will commence by the beginning of May this year. As it relates to the prosecution of those who are found to be in the wrong, this is a domain of the National Prosecuting Authority, and we are in no position to indicate to the House as to when we anticipate that the investigation will be finalized. We can assure you that we are giving full cooperation to the investigations, and that we hope that the investigations will be completed expeditiously, so that, as I said, we can lay this matter to rest. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We now move to the next question, question number 32, which has been asked by Honorable D.M. Skosana to the Minister of Police. The question is about measures the South African Police Service has taken to fill detective vacancies and resolve the backlog of unresolved cases. Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Speaker. There are a number of measures that have been taken, and some or others are underway in terms of capacitating detectives in the country. Firstly, we note the undercapacity as we speak, and therefore measures to ensure that they are capacitated. There are 4,500 new intakes as a starting point that have been drafted or recruited into detective services. That is capacity building. The second one is there are about 1,900, 1.9 million dockets that are outstanding, which we have decided to projectize, because there's no way you can treat that as a normal situation. It's totally abnormal. And it's going to take us 2 years. Now, Minister Kutungwane doesn't have that money, and we're looking elsewhere to get resources to deal with that backlog. But secondly, there's also a third problem of too many dockets per detective. And we're hoping that this recruitment and ongoing recruitment, including bringing back some of the former detectives and preventing a number of them from leaving currently, which we are doing. Those who are asking to leave, we persuade them, and there is understanding to remain in the service, so that we can deal with the backlog on one hand, but deal with the current situation of too many backlogs per detective, but then also augment via recruitment. And we're taking it that we're going to be making progress as we move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable D.M. Skosana for a supplementary question.
Thank you, Speaker. Minister, I just want to find out, you said that there's 4,000 plus, and I think when we were at our portfolio committee, I spoke about the 509 which were internally advertised for supervisory and commander position, which has to be filled at the criminal intelligence, at the detective service. Now, what has led to that high vacancy rates which contributed to the overall detective crisis in the South African Police Service? My last question to you, and just to remind you, Minister, understanding that we've got an old open docket which goes over a period of years, we are not surprised that that has happened. In the last, my second question, in the last, when we were here in the House, you said that there's a hotline number. I'm just pleading with you that today when we leave here, you give the public that hotline number, because we still don't have that number. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Speaker. I don't think I have a different response for the honorable member, Skosana. We've been dealing with these questions for some time, and I think it is the same response, that where we identify posts or vacancies, we have to fill them. But on the origins, what are the origins or the causes of this high vacancy rate? It's something that we could talk about at some other point, because I haven't actually paid different attention on that matter, except to say that, well, there is natural attrition. People are leaving the police service, and there are other root causes. But one of them that we have identified is the inequity in terms of payments or remuneration between detectives and uniform police, which we are seeking to address. And the fact that in detectives, the working conditions are slightly different, well, in terms of payment, in terms of assistance, in terms of what you want, what we need to wear, and all of that. We've investigated all these matters, and at the summit that we'll have in April, we are seeking to bring equity and to make conditions of detectives better, so that we can keep them, so that we can actually inspire them and encourage them to do more work. On the numbers, we will look at that at some other point. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. I'm sure at the end you might give the hotline number, because I think that was one of the concern of the member, that if by the end of today a hotline number can be given. Usekhona uminister akakapheli indlu ayikakaphakami, asime nje kancane. Ngiyabonga. The second supplementary question is by Honorable N.L. Webster.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Minister, in your response with regards to the backlog of cases, I don't think we have a good sense of exactly what the plan is in order to ensure that we start to reduce this backlog. So what is the exact number of unresolved cases, and what are the exact measures that you're making or taking to ensure that we start to decrease this number?
Thank you, Honorable Minister.
Well, there is that difficulty of not getting exactly what she's saying, but I do understand that she's talking about exact numbers. I don't know whether of detectives or of police.
The member was asking the exact number in terms of the backlog of the unresolved cases that you were reflecting to, and also what specific measures are you going to take to address those?
Well, I have indicated that when it comes to detectives alone, that is cases that are to be investigated, I spoke about 1.9 million, which is the figure that was given to us by head of detectives as we were probing this matter, 1.9 outstanding. Now, there would, between that period and now, there would have been other developments, either more or less from that number, but that's the number that we're basing our current work on. And we are saying that it is untenable. So what then are we doing? I've already indicated that we have calculated and even categorized what is this 1.9 million made up of? Which cases are like 5 years old? Which ones are 2 years old? And where are we on each one of those? Now, out of the whole of this of that work, we decided that we need to projectize that, meaning we need to employ people on contract to deal with this particular backlog. And that will take us 2 years if we get the number of people that are being estimated with salaries, with vehicles and all of that. Now, at the moment, what we're busy doing is we're trying to find money from the private sector because at the moment we don't have that money in our budget. That's what we are doing currently. But in addition, we're also looking at what is going to be the dispensation in the future once we are done with the outstanding in terms of one detective to dockets, because once they are 100 and something, it's too much. This is
Thank
what
you,
we're doing
Honorable
going
Member.
forward.
Your time
Thank
is
you.
up. Honorable Plose.
Yeah, no, thank you very much, Minister. Minister, look, we hear the reasons that are behind SEPs not being able to fill vacancies of detectives. But this is worrisome, and given the fact that you once tabled a report in the portfolio of committee in terms of how many detectives you may need to hire annually. Now, you've got a backlog of vacancies that you have not filled up, but it keeps increasing every year. Now, speak to us about the impact that this has on SEPs fulfilling its work, especially in SEPs being able to resolve cases in an expectable time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister.
Speaker, may I also, on this particular question, depend on you to get the question clear?
Let me ask Honorable Plose maybe to raise his voice.
No, Somlom. The question was simple. It was that given that the vacancies in detectives, there's a backlog, but the minister wants tabled a report in the portfolio committee to say that he needs to hire a certain number of detectives annually. Now he's got a backlog of vacancies and they're increasing every year because he's unable to hire annually the number that he requires. So what's the impact of that in SAPS and helping them to resolve cases in an expectable time?
Honorable Minister.
Well, in both subs and detectives and maybe other units, including intelligence and all of that, the first thing to understand is that it is not going to be possible in the near future to match the requirements or the demands in terms of numbers in all those units and overall required numbers to match what is demanded. That is going to take us time. But what is happening is that we increase the numbers depending on how far we can each time. I've indicated in the past that currently we have 153,000 police, where ideally we should be having close to 200,000. Now, in the 153 that we have is one that we are making, doing work with, And we have to stop at some point complaining and complaining about those numbers. Just work with the numbers that you have. But that doesn't mean that nothing has been done. In the last 3 years, financial years, there have been 10,000, 10,000, and 10,000 that has been recruited, although even that doesn't match necessarily. We lose about 6,000, between 4,000 and 6,000 people per annum, and then we recruit that 10,000. That means that you are actually recruiting about 4,000. And it is the same in other units. You have an ideal number, but you have an actual number that you have at the moment on which you try to build. And the numbers are shifting. It can be that 3 months or 4 months ago you required a certain number, and 3 months later you still are at the same number because you will have recruited, or a much bigger gap will have happened. It's something that develops all the time. But it's a matter that you deal with on an ongoing basis. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. I think with your few minutes remaining, one of the issues that the member was raising is the impact of that to the work of the police service.
Thank you very much. Well, in South Africa, I've said the last crime statistics, even the year before this one, or the second quarter statistics, are showing a decline. And we've shared these numbers publicly with everybody. And in the third quarter, for emphasis, there has been a decline registered in a number of crimes, even though it is still at a high level. That is the impact. On a daily basis, we do report the achievements by police, be it on collecting illegal firearms, be it on arrests, be it on tackling various crimes all over in the country. It is happening. People are getting arrested. So overall, it's the decline, as I say, of crime. But I note that it still needs to be intensified. And that is what I'm talking about when I say we are reviewing how we are using this poll and the units that are there to drive the decline even further. That is the impact that we have. We're not saying that we're happy with the overall impact.
Thank you very much, Minister.
There is positivity in terms of progress in fighting crime in the country.
Thank you. Honorable Dene.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honourable Minister, we acknowledge your efforts like the 4,500 new intakes. And if my maths are correct, then that would bring the number of detectives to about 27,000 in the country. And if there is 1.9 million outstanding dockets, that would be 70 dockets per detective. Now, manpower is one thing. I don't think we'll ever have enough detectives. But resources is a completely different other thing. There are detectives who don't have vehicles. There are police stations where they don't even have pens to write statements with. So what is your department's plan with regards to resources and capacitating these detectives to do their work and to tackle this backlog of 1.9 million dockets or outstanding cases? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Honourable Minister.
Well, I suppose that I've got to repeat what I've already said because I've spoken about 1.9 million dockets that are outstanding. And if the question is what is it that we are doing, I've indicated that we have recently recruited 4,500 into detectives and other capacitating measures. But if that's not the question, then I will ask for that the member comes back on the question.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. I think the member was saying she acknowledges the fact that we may never have enough people, but what may be other resources that you are using to try and address this situation?
Honourable Speaker, I've indicated in the case of outstanding dockets that, among other things, we're engaging the private sector to get money or to get funding to make up for the gap that we have by hiring contract workers in the detective section. It could be retired, it could be newly lawyers that are not doing work. That is what we're doing, looking for extra money or resources from the private sector. Over and above that, we are working quite close with Business Against Crime. We're setting up a center, for instance, in Taiwan, to focus on ICTs throughout the country. Those are efforts that we are making to get extra resources over and above what we have.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. We now move to the next question, which is question number 73, that has been asked by Honourable A.N. Kumaka to the Minister of International Relations and Cooperation. The question is about the plans that the department has in place to leverage leadership responsibility in the G20 presidency to create sustainable benefits for our economy, particularly for small businesses in townships and rural areas. I've been informed that the Deputy Minister will be answering the question on behalf of the Minister. Honourable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. South Africa's presidency of the G20 is anticipated to be one of the largest national projects requiring whole of government and society's participation from 1st of December 2024 to 30th of November 2025. South Africa will host over 100 in-person meetings across the country. Firstly, Madam Speaker, the G20 will boost South Africa's tourism sector, increasing employment and allowing provinces to showcase their cultural treasures. The World Travel and Tourism Council reported in 2023 that South Africa's tourism sector employed 1.46 million people. This number is projected to rise to 1.7 million jobs in the near future, fueled by a targeted initiative aimed at significantly increasing employment over the next 5 years. Additionally, the World Travel and Tourism Council noted that tourism's direct and indirect contribution to South Africa's GDP was 8.2% in 2023, with expectations of an increase to 8.8% in 2024. The upcoming G20 summit is expected to play a pivotal role in enhancing tourism sector's impact on economic growth and job creation. By hosting G20 meetings across all provinces, South Africa aims to achieve a considerable economic boost, attracting tens of thousands of delegates and support staff from the major global economies to provinces throughout our year-long presidency. The surge in tourism presents significant opportunities for all of South Africa, including our provinces and cities, to showcase their cultural heritage and tourism potential. Furthermore, Honourable Speaker, it allows for a demonstration of the nation's advancement across multiple sectors. Consequently, the G20 meetings are anticipated to generate considerable economic benefits, creating many direct and indirect jobs during and beyond this period. Secondly, Madam Speaker, the South Africa's presidency offers an opportunity to promote inclusive growth, combat poverty, and ensure sustainable development. Ultimately, the high-level deliverables and priorities identified for South Africa's G20 presidency will benefit South Africa at the national, continental, and global levels. The G20 serves as a strategic platform for South Africa to lobby for policies aimed at advancing the three strategic priorities of the 7th administration. 1, driving inclusive growth and job creation. 2, reduce poverty and tackling the high cost of living. And 3, building a capable, ethical, and developmental state. In addition, Madam Speaker, our second priority under our G20 presidency focuses on ensuring debt sustainability for developing economies. In pursuing this, we aim to achieve greater urgency in addressing debt and solvency challenges many countries face, determining clear solutions to mobilize low-cost financing for development. This approach will help to reduce debt service costs for developing countries, including South Africa, thereby freeing up spending on essential services such as education, healthcare, and infrastructure needed for economic development. Lastly, Madam Speaker, we seek to leverage through our G20 presidency the promotion and the harnessing of critical minerals for inclusive growth and development. Here, South Africa calls for a G20 framework on green industrialization and investments to ensure progress towards a grand bargain that adds value to critical minerals.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable A.N. Kumaka.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Deputy Minister, which specific initiatives under the Township 20 Engagement Group will look to specifically highlight the creative, cultural, financial, and innovative capacities of South Africa's township economies during our G20 presidency?
Honorable Deputy Minister.
President Ramaphosa announced the Township 20 during his launch of South Africa's G20 presidency on the 3rd of December 2025. In this connection, the President highlighted that South Africa intends to support the creation of a new engagement group, the Township 20 or the TS20. This evidently will highlight and focus on the creative, cultural, financial, and innovative capabilities of South Africa's township economies. The department, Madam Speaker, are currently working together with the Department of Small Business and Development on various initiatives towards the establishment of the formalized TS20. However, we can state that the Shepherd track is working in close coordination with relevant stakeholders within government and the private sector towards the full establishment of this engagement group. We are further trying to identify synergies with other engagement groups on how to best leverage existing structures. We will, Honorable Speaker, report on progress in due time as we conclude this work. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to remind members again that let's respect the Speaker when he is on the platform, not to move behind or even in front of the Speaker. Honorable R. Smith.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
I'm told it's Honorable Trollip. Or Honorable Trollip, sorry, you wanting to make a point of order?
Yes, please, Speaker. We are fully aware that there's a practice of presenting sweetheart questions to the ministers from the same party. But for the minister to come here and read from a document that's been prepared is really not helpful at all. We want the ministers to respond off the cuff to authentic questions so we can get the status and not just read a document.
Order, Honorable Member. Let me just remind all of us that obviously ministers, particularly if members want a comprehensive question, an answer to the question, would actually do as best as is possible to do so. That's why we give them 4 minutes in the beginning. And the subsequent follow-up question, the minister will be able to indeed respond off the cuff, but if he has prepared notes, I don't think there's anything wrong in referring to those notes. Thank you very much. Honorable Smith.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Deputy Minister, in a report released by the World Bank last week, international financial experts singled out...
Order, honorable members, can we please allow the member to be heard?
Honorable Deputy Minister, in a report released by the World Bank last week, international financial experts singled out weak market competition and inefficient institutions as the main culprit behind our country's sluggish economic performance and stubbornly high unemployment rate. The World Bank's recommendation was for South Africa to ease race-based policies such as BEE and relax our stringent labor framework to make it less demanding for foreign companies to invest in the country. The DA has echoed these proposals for a number of years now. Growing a strong, sustainable economy by leveraging our G20 presidency is well within reach by making a few significant policy shifts. Can the Deputy Minister tell us whether South Africa will heed the World Bank's advice and abandon these overly restrictive and job-killing policies when it has been proven, even internationally, that they clearly do not work for our country and keep South Africans out of jobs?
The Honourable Deputy Minister.
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. I think, Madam Deputy Speaker, firstly, the G20 presidency overarchingly deal with the changing the global economic and financial architecture. So that is obviously the substantive considerations of why the G20 has been brought about. Obviously, secondly, Madam Chair, that also reflects the need to deepen the transformation of, in particular, your international financial agencies, would obviously express reference to the IMF and also the World Bank in terms of their optics as it relates to developing countries such as South Africa. I have obviously taken note of the World Bank's recommendation. Obviously, Madam Deputy Chairperson, the first issue is there is a key and critical consideration that the South African people expect South Africa to do good on its promises of reducing poverty, unemployment, and inequality, having regard for the historical epoch and considerations to which we come from. So the issues about broad-based economic empowerment, it's some fundamental, it's a rudimentary policy consideration of the South African government, and my understanding is, up until there has been substantive redress, up until there has been inequality, disparities that has been removed, it will continue, Madam Deputy Chair.
Thank you. The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Mshlongo.
Is it tevreden?
Okay. Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Now, Deputy Minister, with South Africa at the helm of the presidents of G20, what are the tangible set targets that you have as a department and the president that you want to achieve in this period, and with timelines and timeframes that you hope to achieve, so that at the end of this presidency, we are then able to use the set targets and the KPIs you have set for yourself in order to evaluate if those targets were met, and if not, we are then able to hold the president accountable on why those targets were not met, but give us those set priorities and the KPIs that we have set as a department.
The Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. I think the first significant issues that we want to achieve is expressed through our thematic focus, where we amplify the matter of solidarity. There should be solidarity of common purpose, in particular amongst G20 member states, but more importantly with those outside of the G20 discourse, in particular your less developed countries, of which the majority are obviously finding expression within the African continent and the global south. That will find expression, Madam Deputy Speaker, through the issues about debt sustainability. It will find expression through the compact with Africa in relation to ensure that the cost of capital as a key working aspect, we are able then to substantively reduce it. The second issue, obviously, once again expressed through our thematic outline, speaks about equality. Equality in relation to also your financing of your sustainable development goals,
We also look at the issues about, the common responsibility in terms of the G20 debt reduction framework. We'll obviously also look at the question about sustainable development, in particular the issues about how we are able to harness critical and scarce minerals within the African continent and elsewhere to become a bridge builder with and between countries of the global south. And then obviously lastly, Deputy Secretary, we will look at the issues about, Deputy Speaker, we'll look at the issues about the financial architecture as it relates to how do we finance sustainable
Thank you,
development
Deputy Minister.
goals.
Your time has expired. The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Mashlatsi.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Deputy Minister, as South Africa hosts the G20 presidency, what opportunities exist to engage the G20 member state on best practices, technical support, or funding model that could assist in advancing equitable land ownership and land reform to benefit small businesses, particularly in township and rural areas? Thank you.
The Deputy Minister.
Yes, thank you very much, ma'am. I think the first issue is when we look at the UN Sustainable Development Goals towards 2030, that obviously informs our own agenda towards making sure that we build a more just and lasting society underpinned by fair distribution of land ownership within South Africa and amongst and between G20 member states. Obviously, the most important issue, once again, Chair, is the question about the concomitant responsibility on financing for sustainable development. That becomes a key and critical interlocutor, in particular, how to ensure that we build this inclusive society, we build this prosperous society, which also are reflected in our African Union 2063 agenda in terms of what needs to be done. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Minister. Question number 40 has been asked by the Honourable Mshlongo to the Minister of International Relations and Cooperation. The question is about the exact date of the relocation of Taiwanese diplomatic officers and steps the Minister has taken to expedite the already protracted process. The Honourable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much. I think, colleagues, the important issue is that we need to provide political context in regards to this matter. The South African Cabinet have taken a decision to ask the Taiwan liaison currently located in Pretoria to relocate to Johannesburg or any other location of their choice. Obviously, Chair, outside of the political capital of the country, keeping in line with the One China policy, that is a key and critical issue. We wish to obviously just report to Parliament also that the conduct of the South African state as it relates to Taiwan, it's reconcilable with what many other states in the world are doing. So out of the 193 member states of the United Nations, Chair, here we only have 12 countries that are actually recognizing Taiwan as being separate from China mainland. These include Belize, Guatemala, Haiti, the Holy See, Marshall Islands, Paraguay, Sri Lanka, St. Kitts, Nevis, St. Vincent, the Grenadines, Eswatini, and Tuvalu. These countries, obviously, in terms of their foreign policy outlook, their outlook are not necessarily, Madam Chair, reconcilable with the decisions taken
at the level of the United Nations General Assembly and the United Nations, which advance the central topology of a one China policy where Taiwan are actually part and integral to mainland China. Thank you very much.
Yes, honourable member at the back. On what point do you rise?
Deputy Speaker, I rise on point on Rule of Order 138, subsection 3, where it says that a minister may authorize his deputy provided that the deputy is able to respond competently to any permissible supplementary question. Now, from what we're hearing here, this deputy minister is not answering the questions. And maybe it's a sound issue. It might be the sound issue again, because we're trying very hard to hear what he's saying, but from what we're hearing, he doesn't seem to be answering the questions. The question that we heard was South Africa's relationship with Taiwan in respect of G20. And he seems to be going off in a tangent talking about something else, Madam Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, honourable member. Honourable members, before Honourable Dagmo, I'm still busy with a point of order, so please allow me to conclude. Honourable Reddy, it is a matter of debate whether you do believe that the answer has been questioned, and I think the Honourable Mshlongo, who is the original submitter of the question, can reply to that or include that. Honourable Reddy, perhaps you should just put the earphones on if you can't hear. Thank you. We will now proceed. Honourable Mshlongo.
Thanks, Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker, it is saddening for the Deputy Minister to want to answer these questions and then refuse to answer the question. If you will read the question that I sent to him, he has not answered it. He was dilly-dallying. I don't know what he was doing. Now, I will still ask my question and add a follow-up. I want to know what are the exact steps that the Cabinet is taking to ensure that the Taiwanese embassy relocates in Pretoria, and on which exact date are they relocating? Lastly, what seems to be the delay? What is delaying the process to have this diplomatic office relocated from our capital city? Please just answer the question, Deputy Minister.
The Deputy Minister.
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Chair. We have obviously issued a deadline as it relates to March 2025 for the relocation of the Taipei liaison office. Based on the reasons that we have advanced earlier, which is important politically on the One China policy, we have engaged with the TLO, Madam Chair, and they have cited obviously administrative and logistical difficulties to conform to the deadline that the South African government have actually outlined. We are seized with engaging the TLO and its leaders in terms of the imperative to subscribe to the decision of the government of South Africa. And we have also highlighted the fact that we expect them to have continuous, consistent engagements with the Department of International Relations and Cooperation, as opposed, Madam Chair, where they are sending what we characterize as distorted missives to senators and House of Representatives in Washington, D.C., where they are actually problematizing politically the decision of the South African Cabinet. Thank you.
Thank you. The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Modise Mpaya.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. Honourable Deputy Minister, we note the statement issued by DECO on the 18th of October 2024 regarding the relocation, and that it is still within the 6-month period allocated. Can you assure the House that the decision taken to relocate the Taipei liaison office is an independent decision taken by our government without any external influences?
The Honourable Deputy Minister.
Yes, absolutely, Madam Chair. South Africa obviously have an independent foreign policy underpinned by Pan-Africanism, global South solidarity, cooperation with your industrialized North, and the transformation of global governance institutions. So those four are the concentric circles upon which our foreign policy are premised on. But we have obligation towards to honor our decisions. Madam Chair would recall it was in 1998 when we took a concrete foreign policy decision on one China policy. It therefore imposed an obligation, Chairperson, on government to honor its own decision. We regard Taiwan as inalienable to mainland China and not to be separate. So we are consistent. We are obviously following up with the necessary dedication and commitment, our decision on the relocation of the TLO. Thank you very much.
The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Denner.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Deputy Minister, with all due respect, I beg to differ with your answer that you just gave. Now, Minister Lamola has repeatedly stated that South Africa's foreign policy is not aligned or non-aligned, and you've said so now as well. And the President has also said that you will not be bullied by other countries. He's on record now in the recent past. So can you outline the measures that your department is taking to avoid being drawn into active alignment in the context of a greater power competition at the behest of the Chinese government? Because I must say it looks like that to the rest of South Africa. And in other words, let me just put my question in other words as well, Deputy Speaker. It very much looks like you are indeed allowing China to bully South Africa. So what are you doing about that? Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
The Honourable Deputy Minister.
Yes, Madam Chair, the rest of South Africa is clear that South Africa must implement the One China policy. They regard the PRC as a comprehensive strategic partner bilaterally, which it is. But more importantly, we have a very peculiar obligations to respond to decisions of the United Nations as expressed through your United Nations General Assembly, in particular Resolution 2758, Madam Chair, encapsulated and as reflected in Article 18 of the UN Charter, read with Article 2, subsection 4, which amongst others advocates that we must respect the sovereign and territorial integrity of member states. Secondly, and more importantly, Madam Chair, you would recall that we are celebrating the 70 years of the Bandung Conference. One of the 10 founding principles of the Bandung Conference that harness African and Asia solidarity speaks about the non-interference on the internal affairs of member states. It equally speaks about respect for the sovereign and territorial integrity. Those are decisions that, including the United States of America, are subscribing to in terms of the One China policy, Honorable Chairperson. So it's only the member that obviously have a different view than the rest of South Africa. Thank you.
The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Zibi. Honourable Wessels, on what point are you rising?
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I just didn't understand a word of what the Deputy Minister said, and there was no English translation. Can that just be checked, please?
Honourable Member, that is not a point of order. Honourable Zibi, you ask the last supplementary question.
I'll ask the supplementary on behalf of Honourable Zibi. Deputy Minister, in your response, you have indicated that you are in continuous conversation with the Taipei Liaison Office. I want to know, when was the last time, as far as you know, when was the last time you received communication from the Liaison Office? What did it say about the move? Is it going to move before the end of March? You have said that you are in constant communication. When was the last communication? What was the content of that communication? Thanks very much, Deputy Speaker.
The Honourable Deputy Minister.
Yes, Chairperson, I have indicated earlier on that the TLO
Honourable Deputy Minister, if you could just hold a minute. Honourable members, please keep the volume down. It is being indicated to me that it is people having tea right at the back. If we could just ask staff members just to inform them that their sound is coming through to the chamber and it is interrupting members and the proceedings. My apologies, Deputy Minister, please proceed.
Thank you, ma'am. I have indicated earlier on that the TLO have communicated to DIRCO that it is unable, due to administrative and logistical reasons, to conform to the express request by DIRCO that
Honourable
by the end
Deputy
of
Minister,
March.
please, just a moment. Honourable Reddy.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I rise once again on Rule 138, subsection 3, where it says that the Deputy Minister responding must be competent. And really, I think this is an insult to our intelligence. He constantly throws big words. He's using these acronyms. We don't know these acronyms. He needs to explain. The question was direct and simple. When last was he in contact with the office of Taipei in South Africa?
Speaker.
And he has not answered the question. Please, Madam Deputy
Honourable
Speaker.
Reddy, that is a point of debate and your interpretation of the answer. I will now allow the Deputy Minister to proceed.
My apologies, Madam Chair. I thought in academic writings you raise first the full name with the shortened version thereafter. But I think for the purposes of completeness, the TLO speaks about the Taiwan Liaison Office, and the PRC is a reference to the People's Republic of China, aka China. So that's for the purposes of completeness, and my apologies if I offended the member. But secondly, Madam Chair, I have unequivocally in my earlier response indicated we have given a deadline of end of March 2025. Further to that, Madam Chair, I have indicated that the TLO have actually communicated with us that they are not able to be positively responsive to the date and deadline that we have set, citing administrative and logistical reasons, in particular the aspect of the relocation costs and the further administrative burden to that. They have communicated with us, Madam Chair, during the quarter, the financial quarter under review in relation to those issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Minister. Question number 24 has been asked by the Honourable Machi to the Minister of Home Affairs. The question is about...
Point of orders, Deputy Speaker.
Honourable Dugmore, please.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
What point, sorry, on what point are you rising?
Deputy Speaker, I'm rising in regard to your most recent ruling. I didn't want to interrupt you or the Deputy Minister, but I want to bring to your attention and the attention of the House that starting from Member Trollip to on 2 occasions by the Honourable Member who was asked to leave the House yesterday.
What is the point that the member is speaking on?
So
Honourable
the
Dugmore,
issue
please
is that,
proceed.
Speaker, there are frivolous points of order being made in this House. Secondly, there was a Chief Whip's forum. It's a pity that the Honourable Manye isn't here. He would have told him what was discussed in the Chief Whip's forum this morning about frivolous points of order. So my point of order is in response to your ruling to please appeal to you to not entertain frivolous points of order. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Dugmore. I unfortunately first have to listen to what the point of order is before I adjudicate it to be frivolous or out of order or not relevant. So we will now proceed with question, yes, Honourable Reddy.
Madam Deputy Speaker, I'm following your ruling, and your ruling stated that you must indicate the rule. You don't come and make a speech and do not indicate the rule. Why are you using a different set of standards when it comes to some members on that side and a different set of standards when it comes to us? All we're asking
Honourable
for
Reddy.
is fairness in the application of the rules. That's all.
Honourable Reddy, the Honourable Dugmore related and referred to the rule on frivolous points of order, and that is how I understood it. Thank you very much. We will now proceed. Yes, Honourable Member, please just also take in consideration, in terms of the rules, if a ruling has been made, it will not be entertained any further. I have made a ruling. So if it is not a new point, and please point to the new rule, and your new point, then I will entertain it.
Maybe, Chair, we need to review or maybe get a proper definition of what is frivolous. Because if you are quoting a rule in a rule book and you are making an order, that cannot be frivolous. We will have to really look into the frivolous part of the order.
Did they miss the induction?
Honourable Member, you are more than welcome to make that submission at the Rules Committee, where these definitions are then discussed. We will now proceed with question number 24, and it has been asked by the Honourable Machi to the Minister of Home Affairs. The question is about the prevention of fraudulent applications under the Trusted Tour Operator Scheme and the integration of the digital identity document system with existing databases. The Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. I think let's just start with the correct foundation when it comes to the Trusted Tour Operator Scheme by pointing out that at the moment, or prior to the creation of the scheme, the visa applications for tourists from China or India would have been manual and paper-based, and we all understand the security problems that come with such a system. So that is the base from which we are moving. In terms of then with the Trusted Tour Operator Scheme, which introduced a digital platform, these tour operators were selected through a process that involved assessment by the nominated officials from Home Affairs, the Department of Tourism, the Department of Transport, as well as from the State Security Agency. The tour operators that were selected have signed memorandums of agreement with the department with clauses that include penalties in the event that there is non-compliance or misconduct by any of these tourists. The link to submit applications through the Trusted Tour Operator Scheme is not accessible to the general public, but only to the 65 vetted and admitted trusted tour operators. In the background, applications through the system are then processed through the existing visa adjudication system, which interfaces with other internal systems such as the visa stop list that flags applicants who are prohibited from traveling to South Africa. In terms of the second part of the question related to the integration of the announced digital identity system with existing databases, the digital ID ecosystem will be designed to enable seamless and secure integration across various platforms, including the population register, banking systems, and indeed social grant platforms. The objective of this is to create an interoperable and trusted digital identity system that enhances service delivery while also strengthening security. This will be done through the use of biometrics to ensure that anyone interacting with the system is indeed who they say they are, and that we can therefore verify that only the correct person is interacting with the Home Affairs population register, and that only the correct person is receiving the service that they are applying for. In summary, the Trusted Tour Operator Scheme is being implemented with strict security controls that vastly outperform the paper-based system that previously existed, and this same principle will be applied to the digital ID system that will serve as the backbone for a new integrated ecosystem that ensures seamless identity verification across Home Affairs and eventually also banking, social grant, and other government services. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. The first supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Machi.
Thank you so much, Deputy Speaker. Inconsistencies in personal records across the national population register, banking systems, and social grants platforms can lead to administrative challenges and potential fraud. How will your department address these discrepancies to ensure data accuracy seamless integration, and efficient service delivery. Thank you.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker, and thank you indeed to the Honourable Member for the follow-up. We are in a space right now where we're dealing with a budget process. And I want to make the point, Deputy Speaker, that huge amounts of resources are being lost through inefficiency, waste and fraud in government services. The Honourable Member touches on social grants as one of these areas where we have the opportunity to massively improve security and then in the process actually also raise resources that we desperately need without imposing taxes or in any other way damaging our fiscal position. And so I think it is actually a much broader objective that we should all share to make sure that we get a secure, biometrically authenticated digital system in place to verify and use a verifiable credential that makes sure that only people who are entitled to interacting with government services are actually able to do so. This will cut out fraud and corruption related to foreign nationals, for example, but also to people who don't qualify for a particular service and yet are still able to commit fraud and abuse. That is of massive value to social grant beneficiaries. It's going to protect the value of social grants because wastage will be cut, and it's going to really secure the system for us going forward and ensuring the sustainability of the system for many more years to come. So indeed, Deputy Speaker, the benefits of Home Affairs' work on digital transformation spreads well beyond the Home Affairs domain and has the potential to revolutionize government across the board. Thank you.
The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Modise Mpia.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. The former Minister of Home Affairs, Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi, established a no-nonsense counter-corruption unit headed by a former police officer who is now an advocate. The unit is headed at the DDG level, and it is the only one of its kind outside of the regular law enforcement agencies. We are aware that since its inception, a lot of people have been fired, convicted, and sentenced. Do you find that the model is successful, that it should be recommended to other government departments which experience similar acts of corruption? Are you able to give the figures of the people who were nabbed since the inception of the unit?
The Honourable Minister.
Deputy Speaker, thank you very much. That question is certainly not related to the original, but I'm happy to respond in any case. Chair, I think we have demonstrated through actions rather than words our commitment to dealing with corruption in Home Affairs. Within a matter of 4 or 5 months, 18 officials were dismissed through disciplinary processes that had been accelerated after they had stalled for many years. I'm deeply grateful for the work of the Special Investigating Unit in supporting Home Affairs through a proclamation signed by the President that is indeed helping us to enforce our commitment to zero tolerance for corruption. There is additional work going on, Deputy Speaker, to make sure that we handle disciplinary cases in an expeditious manner. There was a report recently related to a particular official that faces certain allegations. As soon as those allegations were brought to the fore, within a matter of days, the official was suspended. Investigation is ongoing, and I can say without any equivocation that the era of tolerating corruption in Home Affairs is at an end, and wherever we find this kind of malpractice, we will have zero tolerance for it and ensure that there are consequences in terms of the law for everyone involved. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Before I proceed to the next question, Honourable Members, it has been brought to my attention that if you are going to speak and your mic is open and you have the headphones for the interpreting device too close to it and it is very loud, you will have the high-pitched sound. So if you are going to activate your microphone, please put the headphones a bit in the distance. And then may I request the chief whips of the different parties to please inform your members that if they go for tea or coffee, that they please keep the volume down because it really is interfering with the activities within the chamber, which is our main function here. We then proceed with the third supplementary question, and that will be asked by the Honourable Roos.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Minister, from a security as well as tourism point of view, what outcomes have been observed since the implementation of the Trusted Tour Operator Scheme?
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. As I indicated earlier, security has been taken to another level because we now have an online system where we can track every part of the process, where we can see how adjudication decisions are made without a single piece of paper that can be manipulated or can get lost. We also have the benefit of signed contracts with these tour operators to make sure that they themselves will be held to account if there is any malpractice and malfeasance. So that has taken us to another level in terms of security. In terms of the efficiency, I'm very happy to report that all of these visa outcomes that have been streaming in from China and India now are being processed within less than a day. I've just received the latest update and over 450 tourists who otherwise would not have come to South Africa have already been brought in within a matter of days. I'm very proud of the work that the City of Cape Town is doing, really leveraging this new visa system by promoting actively tourism in the city. In India, for example, the mayor tells me that over 25 million people have engaged with that content already in India alone. The Department of Tourism is working to promote the Trusted Tour Operator Scheme among those massive source markets. I am very confident, Deputy Speaker, that South Africa is going to see significant increase in tourism from these massive source markets, housing 2.8 billion people. At the moment, we're really underperforming. We're attracting less than 40,000 people a year from China, for example. And through the Trusted Tour Operator Scheme, we've taken the first step to create jobs in this sector in South Africa. Research shows us that for every 12 tourists that we attract, 1 South African finds a new job. That is our commitment, and that is what we are delivering through digital transformation.
The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Letlape.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Minister, my first question is, when will this digitized visa system be rolled out for individuals? And on the digital identity document system, when will it be available to help other institutions like the health department, where South African citizens are being crowded out of critical care, like cancer treatment, by undocumented foreigners?
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker, and to the member for those excellent questions. I think on the first point, the member is absolutely correct that we are not stopping with tour groups. We want to eventually roll out secure online application and adjudication for all visa applications, including for individuals from around the world. That we will do through what the President announced in the State of the Nation address, in terms of the electronic travel authorization. This is a system that more and more countries around the world are using, including, for example, in Kenya, where you fully digitize and automate not only the application process, but also the adjudication process and the sending of visa outcomes. Deputy Speaker, before we had the Trusted Tour Operator Scheme, tourists from countries like China sometimes received the outcome of their visa application, the physical document, after their plane had left the airport. Those are the kind of things that are coming to an end if we can send those outcomes digitally and immediately. So that's what we're working towards in terms of the electronic travel authorization. And then secondly, we have to adopt a phased approach as we move towards the digital ID system that I described. What we're going to start with is to make sure that we massively expand access to the existing smart IDs, which are much more secure than the green ID books. We all know those are really the source of much frustration and problems in South Africa. That's why we want to expand our successful pilot project, whereby Home Affairs ID and passport services are rendered in 30 bank branches at the moment. I want that to go up to hundreds or even 1,000 bank branches all across South Africa. That will massively increase inclusion, massively expand access to these vital enabling documents. Once we've achieved that, we're well on the way to then also introducing a digital version of these documents, which will over time reap the benefits that I described earlier in terms of making all government services more secure. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Question number 74 has been asked by the Honourable Chabane to the Minister of Home Affairs. The question is the latest update on the finalisation of the White Paper on Citizenship, Immigration and Refugee Protection towards a complete overhaul of the migration system in South Africa. The Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker, and to the committee chair for this question. As I first reported to Parliament in September last year, the Department has embarked on a process to develop a supplementary policy paper that aligns the White Paper with the priorities of the Government of National Unity, including most critically the focus on digital transformation that I just described and as articulated by the President during the State of the Nation address. By way of one example of what this could mean in practice, the original White Paper proposes relocating refugee reception centres to ports of entry. A good idea. However, the focus on digital transformation that has since emerged as a key government priority means that the Department is now able to refine this recommendation by introducing the option of, for example, virtual hearings for asylum seekers. This would achieve the same goal as the original proposal, which is to move physical offices, but save the substantial costs involved in relocating those offices, and it would potentially equip every port of entry with the means to conduct faster and more efficient asylum seeker interviews so that that process does not drag on and allow people to stay in our country while they await the outcome. Another possible example of an opportunity that we can explore through this process is the automation of entry and exit at ports of entry to clamp down on corruption. I've often said that you cannot bribe a computer, and therefore this priority has already been included in the GNU's medium-term development plan, and we can now use the supplementary paper to the White Paper to reflect this priority in the work of government going forward. Finally, Deputy Speaker, a third possible example is the need for us to supplement the White Paper to ensure that we give expression to the President's announcement relating to digital ID, which will require us to capture biometrics for every person who crosses our borders so that we can know who is in the country, when they are supposed to leave, and take action when they fail to do so. These are three possible examples that demonstrate the practical value of supplementing the White Paper to ensure that any resulting legal changes are as effective and efficient as possible in achieving our shared goal to improve border management while driving economic growth and job creation. Finally, the Department has a target of submitting the supplementary policy paper to myself for approval by the 31st of March. The process of drafting the paper is well underway, and during the 25-26 financial year, this supplementary policy paper will then be subjected to public consultation and later submitted to Cabinet for approval. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
The first supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Chabane.
Thank you, Minister. Given the reasoning that you have outlined, during the sixth administration, Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi assured this House that the White Paper has been considered and approved by Cabinet. On the 26th and 24th September 2024, you have indicated to the Portfolio Committee that you have commissioned a legal opinion in relation to the White Paper. Can you assure this House in the time frame that Cabinet will consider the White Paper once you have considered it as an executive? Thank you.
The Honourable Minister.
Yes, thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. Just to repeat the assurance indeed that even just last week there was a departmental workshop on this where not only the legalities but also all of the opportunities that we now have before us because of our focus on digital transformation was considered by the department, and they are now finalizing that proposal with their target being the 31st of March to submit that to the Minister. And as I said, during the 2025-26 financial year, the policy paper to supplement will then be subjected to thorough public consultation and thereafter submitted to Cabinet for approval. So that is the assurance that I can give. Thank you.
The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Muhammad.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Minister, given that the migration crisis has worsened under this administration and illegal immigration remains unchecked, can you explain why it has taken so long to legalize and finalize this white paper? is this delay not a reflection of your department's failure to manage migration effectively, leaving South Africans to bear the consequences of poor border control? And what guarantees are there, Minister, that the white paper will lead to real enforcement measures? Or is this another document that will gather dust while South Africans suffer? And Minister, can you please tell us what concrete and immediate actions is your department taking while we wait for this white paper? Or this too is just another example of government inefficiency and empty promises? I thank you.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I want to submit that the Honourable Member answered her own question, which was, why are we making sure that we supplement this white paper? It is precisely to make sure that it is not something that exists only on paper. It is to make sure that it has practical and meaningful effects on how we improve South Africa's border management. I've often said that you cannot fix administration through legislation. You actually have to fix the administration itself. And therefore, while we're working to make sure that this white paper supplementation process unlocks the full power of digital transformation to improve our immigration management system, we are indeed concentrating on building a stronger administration to make sure that when that paper lands and when, most importantly, the legislative changes that will flow from it are brought into effect, that we are indeed able to enforce. And that is exactly the goal. In terms of what we are doing, Deputy Speaker, the list is long and the time is short. What honourable colleagues will have seen over the last few months is a dramatic increase in the apprehensions of people trying to cross illegally into South Africa by 215%. That's the increase of people who were prevented from crossing illegally by the Border Management Authority during the festive season. We have piloted, with cooperation from the Department of Agriculture and Land Reform, the use of drones for the very first time. There are processes underway to make sure we get full-time drones for the Border Management Authority, body cameras for the Border Management Authority, and, as I mentioned, all the work being done to introduce an electronic travel authorization, which will then lead to automated entry and exit. Deputy Speaker, I want to emphasize this point. You cannot bribe a computer. When you show up to an electronic gate and you scan electronic travel authorization or you scan your passport, it will either open or close.
Thank you,
It does
Honourable
not ask
Minister.
for a bribe. Thank you.
Your time has expired. Honourable members, before I go to the next question, could I again please request whips to ask their members not to converse so loudly when they have coffee or tea, because it really is making our work impossible. So could I please ask you to just send a message to your members if they do take a break to do so silently to allow us to do our work. Thank you. The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Tahudin.
Sorry, Honourable Speaker, does the white paper propose any specific policy changes regarding the mass deportation?
Honourable Member, could I just ask you to speak louder and into the microphone? Thank you.
Does the white paper propose any specific policy changes regarding the mass deportation of illegal immigrants? And if not, does the Minister believe it should?
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. Let me tell you that the numbers of deportations we are seeing in South Africa at the moment is much higher than it has been for many years. I don't have the figures in front of me right now, but in fact the department is scrambling to find the resources to keep up with the number of individuals that are being deported in terms of what the law requires. You will see evidence of this in the fact that the Department of Home Affairs now has its own buses to make sure that deportations are actually sped up. And so that is something that is well underway. And we do so for a very simple reason, because that is what the law requires. We are not in the business of scapegoating, but we are also not in the business of turning a blind eye to people who break the law. If you doubt that, please ask Chidima Adechina's mother what happens when you break South African law and you brazenly undermine the position of Home Affairs in terms of the cancellation of her documents. Then I also just want to point out that everything I have described in terms of using biometric technology to know who is in South Africa, to know when they are supposed to leave, and to take action when they don't, is going to be the single biggest advancement in our ability to secure our border management that we have ever seen in South African history. So I would ask for the House that if you take this problem seriously, support Home Affairs, support the Border Management Authority on our journey to enforce digital transformation across all of the work that we do. Thank you.
The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Machi.
Thank you, Deputy Chairperson. Honourable Minister, given case
Honourable Member, could you please also just talk closer to the microphone and a bit louder?
Thank you, Deputy Chairperson. Honourable Minister, given KZN economic reliance on sectors such as agriculture and tourism, how will the overhaul of the migration system ensure that businesses can access necessary foreign labour while maintaining strict immigration controls? Thank you.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I want to thank the Honourable Member for that question, because it reminds all of us that we are talking about two things here. We are talking on the one hand about improving the way in which border management is conducted in South Africa so that we can ensure national security. But on the other hand, we are indeed talking about what the Honourable Member raises, which is the most critical priority we face in South Africa, and that is to create jobs. And so that is why we are doing both. There's an expression that says you must be able to walk and chew at the same time. That's exactly what Home Affairs is doing under this administration. We are working to improve the security aspects, but we are also seeking to become that economic enabler, not only in KZN, but around the country, that unlocks the economic benefits of bringing in skills for companies, of bringing in tourists for the tourism sector. And so the good news is that you can do both of those things if you embrace the kind of change that we've seen through mechanisms like the Trusted Tour
Honourable
Operator
Minister,
Scheme.
your time has expired. We now move on to question number 17, which has been asked by the Honourable Kolobana to the Minister of Police. The question is asking if revealing the reasons behind the Crime Intelligence Division's purchase of a property in Berea, Durban, which was listed at 9.5 million and purchased for approximately 22.8 million, would compromise national security, and if not, what are the reasons for the price increase? The Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much. There are two matters on this particular question. The first one is that it is one of the matters that are under investigation currently from different agencies. Second issue is that we would love, when this matter gets completed in terms of the investigations, that the report goes to the Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence for processing, as opposed to giving the answers here and now. And we're requesting that we process those matters accordingly. But the main thing is that it's a matter under investigation currently, and it will be completed in due course. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The first supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Kola Barnard.
Thank you, Chairperson. Minister, with all the respect you deserve, it's now a matter of public record. The secrecy ship has sailed on a sea of front pages. The purchase by Crime Intelligence of the 22 million rand boutique hotel in Pretoria North is now under investigation by the Inspector General of Intelligence at my request, as claims have been made that the three signatories of that purchase received huge multi-million rand payments as a result of the sale. Were similar payments made to the SAP signatories as a result of the Durban building purchased, given that they paid the 22.8 million for a 9.5 million rand building? That's the question. It's as though we have never left the Mdluli years behind us and that the looting set out by the Zondo Commission has never stopped.
The Honourable Minister.
much as it is a matter of that has gone out to the public, which I acknowledge and agree with, but it is a matter that requires a proper way of processing. Now, on our side, we will take all the measures, including addressing the concern of the member at the appropriate time to deal with these particular matters that she's referring to. Thank you.
The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Mokoena.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. We welcome the recommendation that this matter be referred to the Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence on the grounds of national security. I thank you.
The Honourable Minister, if you would like to comment on the comment. Honourable Minister.
No, thank you very much for that. It's agreed.
Thank you. The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Skosana.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I'm still going to make a follow-up at a later stage about the hotline number. One, what prompted the Crime Intelligence Division to purchase the property at such a high price? Was there any specific reason for deviating from the listed value? Why was the matter referred to a secret and a closed committee? What sensitive information could be possible be compromised by the public scrutiny? Why the secrecy? How does the purchase of this property align with the South African Police Service strategic goals and priorities? Is this expenditure justified? Considering the current challenges faced by the police service, we know that the budget was cut. What measures are in place to ensure transparency and accountability within the Crime Intelligence Division? Are there any adequate checks and balances to prevent this similar incident to happen again? My last question will be, any independent investigation into the matter? If so, what will be done? Thank you.
Honourable Minister.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Maybe let me start my response to that question by saying the following: that currently there are a number of problems or challenges that we have identified within crime intelligence, and they point to all these issues. In other words, what the member is asking is you are talking about examples as to that justify the our view that there are challenges there. And so one of the examples or two of the examples are those questions. In order for us to be comprehensive in response to all the current challenges in crime intelligence, including those details that you are talking about, we have launched that, or an investigation is underway, as we say. And when that investigation gets completed, we would want to take it to the Joint Standing Committee. And it will be open for all of us to scrutinize and ask further questions. But are we concerned about the issues as you outline them? We're very concerned about them. And do they affect the image and credibility of crime intelligence? Yes, they do, which has an impact in effective policing that all of us want. And that's why we're attending to them the way we are attending to them. And we're not sweeping anything under any carpet. Thank you.
Honourable Member, there's a point of order. Could you please indicate which point you are rising on?
It's a point of order, Honourable Deputy Speaker. I have noticed that the table there, the presiding officers, when it comes to Honourable Skosana, is allowed to ask more than one supplementary question. To an extent where he says, my first question will be, and then my second question will be. No one is saying that is not allowed when we follow the rules. Can you rule on that, please?
I will rule on that, Honourable Member. We have last year already, with the Rules Committee, we have decided that it will be up to the Minister to decide whether he will entertain all the questions or only one, and it is not for the presiding officers to tell the Minister that he can only reply to one, or to the member asking that he may only ask one. The convention is that you only ask one question, but we have allowed the ministers to decide whether they will answer or not. We continue. The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Reddy. I have ruled on this matter. Is it a new matter? And please indicate which matter, which rule.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. I rise in terms of Rule of Order 92, subsection 3A, in which it states that a member that raises a point of order must commence by quoting the exact rule. And you've often stated this, and you correctly did that. Or they must continue by explaining the principle or the subject matter of the rule. Now, twice you've allowed members on that side to stand up, raise a point without referring to a specific rule. Please, I want to draw that to your attention, Honourable Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Reddy, but you've also given the answer that you either have to state the specific rule or indicate the substance to which the rule is pointing. So it is absolutely in line. Thank you very much. We now continue. I'm not going into a debate with you, Honourable Reddy. We now proceed. This last supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Blose.
No, thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. Minister, so does SAPS have measures that are put in place that prevents irregular and wasteful expenditure related to the acquisition of property, especially in relation to buying properties outside of their normal prices? This thing of buying properties higher than its normal prices. And maybe as you end, Minister, I'd really like your inputs on hearing and taking South Africa into confidence regarding the secrecy of this IP'd Phala Phala report. Can you release that report to the public and let the public know what is in that report? Because that issue is a matter of public interest, and we cannot put it under a top secret mission. Thank you very much.
Honourable Minister, there are now an issue on the table that is not really part of the question, but it is up to you to decide whether you want to reply to that or not. Please proceed. Honourable Minister. Honourable Minister, please proceed.
I was wanting the member to get more opportunity to shout, because I was supposed to answer, and she shouts. But the answer to that is that, firstly, everybody whose fingers and hands reach state resources has a responsibility to be responsible and accountable in a transparent way. And our job is to make sure that there's oversight to the best of our ability for accountability, including on the matters that the Honourable Member is touching on. Now, but my final answer is that I am indicating that all these matters, including what measures will come in addition to the measures that are there already, once the investigation has come, indicating how such errors would have happened, you then know that this is the measures, the new measures that you have to take, so that there's no sequel. Let me make an example. There is a report we get of somebody walking to our offices in East London and coming out with more than R1 million. Now, and walking away with that just like that. The question is not so much how is it allowed and that it is in the public clear and all of those things. We know that. But the actual thing is to investigate how did it happen and who is involved and where were accountability lines blurred or...
Honourable Minister, your time has expired. Thank you.
And therefore you know what measures you need to take. I'm making an example.
We now proceed to question number 77. It has been asked by the Honourable Motaung to the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development. The question is asking whether the Minister will collaborate with the Minister of Correctional Services to establish circuit courts within correctional centres like the one in Goodwood Correctional Centre to address overcrowding, backlogs and travel costs for detainees. The Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker, and appreciate the question from Honourable Motaung. The officials between the two departments have been working together to ensure an integrated way of responding to the issues that deal with justice system. As we have been able to do within the Goodwood Correctional Service, this is the usage of audio-visual remand system where a detainee or remand detainee who is still in custody can be able to appear and link up to the magistrate court so that they are able to have their day in court and they can be able to be processed. This process assists us in terms of reducing the cost of travel, but also in ensuring safety, because sometimes you have high classified criminals who are flight risk and therefore sometimes put the lives of witnesses in jeopardy in terms of being in courts. And that's why this option is one of those that we prefer to be able to roll out across the country. So this is one of the work that we are doing. It's not yet fully rolled out across the country. It will be done in phased-in approach. The challenge currently is that in many of these facilities, we have what we call a center or a place of appearance. And therefore, when it's one, it means that various magistrate courts will have to alternate to be able to have remandees in custody to be able to appear before them. So therefore, that's why we need multiple facility within the same correctional service, not only one room, but also this will assist us if somebody has been in custody, for example, in eThekwini, but has a case that they've got to appear for in Gauteng. They can be able to appear in Gauteng through this mechanism. So we are committed, honorable members, to continue to work with this. It's not an easy process, but also it's not an area that is cost effective. So we're looking at mechanisms that protects in terms of security so that they don't continue to put contravened items into correctional services or utilize this as an opportunity to be able to have interactions that they are not supposed to have with the outside world. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The first supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Motaung.
Thanks, House Chair. Thank you, Minister, for the answer. Minister, owing to the fact that not all correctional centers have AVR facilities and challenges of load shedding or reduction sometimes exist, what is the possibility of further rolling out and capacitation of the circuit courts?
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, House Chair. I am informed that correctional services have started the process of ensuring that they have these facilities within their correctional centers, and we'll work together with them to ensure that those are linked with magistrates and our courts so that they are able to have the facilities utilized effectively. As I said, this will be rolled out by the correctional services starting within 25-26 financial year. Thank you.
The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Breitenbach.
Thank you, Honourable House Chair. While it is difficult, Honourable Minister, to see how circuit courts housed in or at correctional facilities will address the overcrowding issues largely caused by the high number of remand detainees, will the Minister consider, in consultation with the Minister of Correctional Services, assisting the National Prosecuting Authority to set up night courts or separate courts to revisit the issue of bail for those remand detainees? The vast majority are eligible for bail, but are unable to pay the amount set. This is in most cases less than 2,000 Rand and would almost immediately free up in excess of 40,000 bed spaces. Thank you.
Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much. I think the issues are too separate, as Honorable Batenbeck has said. The issue in terms of the AVR does not necessarily address the issue of overcrowding in courts, and Minister Groenewald can confirm to this. This necessarily just ensures that we are able to function effectively and within the parameters of the law, but also ensuring that the safety of those who are working within the justice system continues. On the issue around those who are detained, for example, you find an example of a person who is not a flight risk, but has been in custody because they can't pay a minimum fee, as she says, of 2,000 within. I am currently consulting with the legal teams who will be issuing a proclamation in this regard to be able to ease up the pressures within our correctional facilities. Thank you.
Thank you. The next supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable KP Sitole.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair. Honourable Minister, in light of the financial constraints facing the Department of Correctional Services, how will the rollout of circuit court be funded with an aim to involve public-private partnership to support the initiative? I thank you.
Honourable Minister.
Thank you, House Chairperson. I think the better person to answer this one in detail will be the Minister of Correctional Services. We are becoming a supportive element in this manner to be able to ensure that those who are detained can be able to appear in court in an effective manner. So I wouldn't be able to dictate to Minister of Correctional Services that this is the best option of going. We can have conversation between myself and him and make sure that we are able to have an integrated justice system that functions effectively.
The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Kobe.
Thank you, House Chair. Honourable Minister, while there is a need to talk about rolling out of circuit courts, it's no secret that currently our courts are dysfunctional, heavily burdened, and have severe administrative and resource barriers that contribute to the court delays that eventually and subsequently lead to the overcrowding. Now, as it relates to the Goodwood Circuit Court, how effective and operational is it? And is it adequately equipped, funded, and does it have enough manpower to fulfill its mandate? If not, how are you going to enhance the administrative capacity of the courts before ambitiously rolling them out across all correctional services? Thank you.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Member. I think the first issue is to acknowledge that currently our courts are overburdened and therefore we have court delays. In responding to this matter, I met with the Chief Justice on the 7th of February, and first point that we did was to address the issue of HR matters in terms of human capital within the judiciary. We are in the process now. Within a week or two, we should be able to advertise at least 80 posts out of the posts that we have. We have received approval from the Minister of Public Service and Administration as fast-tracked to ensure that we can capacitate our courts. The second layer will be after the budget has been passed, we'll be able to allocate additional 135 vacancies to the courts so that we can be able to fill. But we have been able to put together a mechanism together with all the other role players, because when you look at the backlog in courts, it's not just only about whether it's remand cases, but it has to do, for example, starting with availability of an interpreter, availability of a clerk to take the records, availability of a legal representative, whoever is representing the people, especially those who are in legal aid, and also effectively NPA being present in those courts. So we are looking at end-to-end to ensure that our courts are effective, and we are putting together mechanisms to work with this. In addressing the magistrate courts, magistrate commission recently, we committed as well to paying attention even to infrastructure issues that are affecting the courts, including making sure that we can be able to have water tankers in the areas in case of water shortages, but also alternative energy facilities so that our courts don't stop from functioning when those challenges happen. This is work in progress and will continue to report to Parliament in terms of the progress. We're hoping that we'll be able to deal with the backlog and ensure that justice is available and is accessible for all.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Honourable Members, we will now proceed to question number 41 that has been asked by the Honourable Mshlongo to the Minister of International Relations and Cooperation. The question is about action taken against organizations such as AfriForum and Solidarity, spreading misinformation causing diplomatic tension with the United States of America and the diplomatic efforts to correct the misinformation. I recognize the Honourable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chairperson. No action has been taken against AfriForum and Solidarity. You will recall, Chairperson, that in a media statement dated 8 February 2025, we mentioned that we are concerned by what seems to be a campaign of misinformation and propaganda aimed at misrepresenting our great nation. South Africa's 30 years of democracy is a result of overcoming decades of apartheid rule through a negotiated settlement that sought to build a united nation by accommodating all South Africans. We do still hold that view as government in our stated goal of nation building. Secondly, Honourable Chairperson, our diplomats and officials are in touch with both the U.S. Embassy in Pretoria and the State Department in Washington, D.C. We will assess in consultations with the Presidency on official delegations that goes beyond the normal diplomatic engagements. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Minister. I now recognize the Honourable Mshlongo, who will ask the first supplementary question.
Thank you, House Chair. Now, Deputy Minister, you have seen that AfriForum and Solidarity, they continue to lobby the US President and the US to put pressure on our government to interfere in our domestic affairs. What is the approach that the department will take to prevent further deterioration of diplomatic relations with countries like the US and any other country? Because obviously, if it's not prevented, this will not be the first time or the last time that something like this happens. If left unattended, AfriForum and Solidarity will be emboldened to continue and damage many diplomatic relations that South Africa has with different countries. So what is the approach of your department in order to curb this and prevent it from happening any further?
The Honourable Deputy Minister.
Yes, no, thank you very much, Chairperson. The first issue is that we are engaged with the U.S. Embassy. Just before the resignation of the chargé, Ms. Dana Brown, we had consistent engagements with her as the representative head of the U.S. Embassy following the voluntary resignation of the former Ambassador Brigadier II. Thirdly, Chairperson, Ambassador Rasool are, as we are speaking, engaged obviously with members of the U.S. Congress, encapsulating both your Democrats and Republicans. The key dilemma that we are faced with, Chairperson, because of the unique changes that the new administration have brought about in the State Department, currently in the Bureau for African Affairs, which is responsible from their foreign services officials to engage with, amongst others, South Africa. You only have junior officials currently without the necessary authority. So we'll continue to engage the lawmakers in the US, and our expectation is, Chairperson, once you have a fully staffed bureau responsible for African affairs, that we'll then be able to heighten engagements with those identified officials. Of course, Chairperson, the foreign policy historically has been state-centric, but internationally, all things being equal, non-state actors have started to play a more prominent role. Of course, Chairperson, internationally, a more positive role. Obviously, South Africa's own non-state actors in the form of AfriForum and Solidarity is an antithesis to advancing a foreign policy based on human solidarity, based on a mutual value system. It's obviously rather unfortunate, Chair, given the fact that in South Africa, our greatest difficulty is wide inequality, disparity. Obviously, that inequality is disenfranchising the black majority in South Africa. And it's rather unfortunate that their campaign has not focused on the reality of what the South African experience is. It's a reality of the black majority reconciling with the white minority. It's a reality of, as we speak, Honorable Chairperson, the higher quantiles of income of households, almost 73% of it, is in the benefit of white households. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Deputy Minister. The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Muela.
Thank you.
Before you ask the question, Honourable Muela, Honourable Paulson, why do you want to be recognized?
Thank you very much, House Chair. House Chair, the Deputy Minister was asked what is being done to halt the spread of misinformation. He told us about household spending in South Africa. He never gave us anything that's being done. Rasool can't get access to the US government.
Is that the point of order, Honourable Member?
Yes, Chair.
Thank you. If you would have listened, if you have listened to the reply of the Honourable Deputy Minister, he mentioned 3 specific interventions. And we will arrange that a copy of that reply is sent to your office so that you can see that the answer that you are seeking has been responded to. The Honourable Muela.
Thank you, House Chair. Honorable Deputy Minister, what additional measures will be put in place to ensure coherency and coordination of the advancement of South African foreign relations, both by state and non-state actors? Thank you very much.
The Honourable Deputy Minister.
Yes, Honourable Chairperson, maybe I must indicate the President have made a commitment to mandate, special envoys to the U.S. In fact, Honourable Chair, the House would recall that there is a special envoy constituted already to look at the AGOA during the 6th administration, and the work obviously was on course. Secondly, Honourable Chairperson, look, there is clarity of purpose in relation to the government's foreign policy as it relates to the U.S. is concerned. We regard the U.S. Still as a strategic bilateral partner of South Africa. Of course, the responsibility obviously lies also in the greatest dilemma that you find within the GNU, where some of these non-state actors, in particular AfriForum and Solidarity, have obviously a very close and unique relationship of proximity with some members, political parties reflective in the GNU. And we are engaging with all those political parties, Honourable Chairperson, so that there's common cause in relation to the construct of a non-racial, non-sexist, democratic and prosperous society. Thank you very much, Chair.
The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Douglas.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Honorable Deputy Minister, AfriForum and Solidarity actively lobby foreign governments like the USA, leading to direct actions and sanctions and tariff impositions against us, leading to the cancellation of aid and life-saving care for the poor and marginalized, leading to directly to the loss of South African lives and the possible cancellation of bilateral trade agreements like AGOA, falsely portraying South Africa as unsafe for investment and accusing the government of reverse racism despite their own historical ongoing dominance over land, mineral wealth, and economic resources as the racist perpetrators and beneficiaries of apartheid. In the light of these disturbing developments, will the Minister support the MK call for the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee on International Relations and Cooperation to exercise its constitutional oversight powers under Section 56 of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa in 1996 and Rule 227 of the National Assembly rules, which empower committees to summon individuals and organizations to appear before Parliament, require the production of evidence and conduct full hearings into matters of national interest? Will you support an urgent parliamentary inquiry into the role of AfriForum, Solidarity and other entities and individuals in undermining South Africa's diplomatic and economic stability? Thank you.
Your time is now expired. The Honourable Deputy Minister.
Well, Chairperson, in terms of the delineation of responsibility, as it relates to government and parliament, obviously we have a unique responsibility as government which we are implementing. Obviously, to the extent possible, we work with the portfolio committee, but in as much as their decisions is their responsibility, Honorable Chairperson, and I would obviously not want to engage on that issue, but I agree substantively with the member on the narrative of falsehood. The fact of the matter is, Chairperson, in this country, the majority people has been disenfranchised through your 1913 Land Act. The majority of people in this country has been disenfranchised through the Group Areas Act. And the fact that the color of poverty is uniquely black in this country, that is the reality, Honorable Chairperson. So I agree substantively with what I regard as a problem statement from the member. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Minister. The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Powell. The Honourable Powell. Is there no question? Chief Whip of the Democratic Alliance, no question. Thank you, honourable members. We will thus move on to question number 80 that has been asked by the Honourable Ramalobeng to the Minister of Correctional Services. You want my attention, Chief Whip of the DA?
Yes, thank you, House Chairperson. My apologies. I don't know if I'm lost or if you are lost, but where I am right now, the last follow-up question was scheduled for the Honourable Kwankwa, so the Honourable Powell won't have a follow-up question, just for clarity there.
Honourable Chief Whip, honourable members, I'm informed that the Honourable Kwankwa indicated that he is not taking a supplementary question. The question was then, it was brought to the attention of the parties, and the DA apparently indicated that the Honourable Powell will take a supplementary question. That is the information that the table has given me. Yes, honourable member.
Thank you very much, House Chair. I carry no knowledge of that. We won't be asking a follow-up question. My apologies.
Thank you. Honourable members, question number 80, as I've said, has been asked by the Honourable Ramalobeng to the Minister of Correctional Services. The question is about the measures to be taken to address the issue of detained foreign nationals contributing to overcrowding in correctional centres and the number of foreign nationals who were deported in the past financial year. The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. I will take the line of the Honourable Trollop and not reading each and every word, and I will submit the complete question in terms of the processes. Firstly, Honourable Chair, it must be noted that the Department of Correctional Services is responsible for the detention of all arrested persons, including foreign nationals, according to the warrants of detention issued by courts. So we have no choice. In 2010, the Cabinet took a decision that the Ministers of International Relations and Cooperation and DCS submit a joint Cabinet memorandum on sentenced foreign nationals in South African correctional centers and develop recommendations on how best to deal with this matter. An extensively researched draft policy position on the transfer of sentenced foreign nationals was compiled in consultation with external shareholders. A Cabinet memorandum of interstate prisoner transfers agreements was submitted on 14 November 2013 and a revised one on 29 December 2015. On both submissions, the recommendations provide that we must have a legal opinion. The legal opinions received in 2016 and 2023, and that actually states that there must be consenting from the foreign national when it comes to repatriation to the foreign country. And this is on the basis of humanitarian grounds as adopted in the United Nations General Assembly in 1985. On 24 June 22, a formal request to initiate discussions on prisoners transfer between the government of South Africa and SADC region was signed by the National Commissioner, and it was forwarded to the following countries: Malawi, Lesotho, Mozambique, and Zimbabwe. To this effect, bilateral engagements were conducted. However, due to the fact that South Africa does not have an enabling domestic legislation or policy position to regulate and facilitate the transfer, this did not come to a final conclusion. Furthermore, during September 22, DCS conducted a brief research regarding the transfer of sentenced offenders to determine the willingness of the sentenced foreign nationals, and out of a total of 931 were interviewed, 80% were willing to be transferred back. But due to the complexity of the legislation, on 23rd October 23, a draft policy on interstate transfer and sentenced offenders was presented to the Justice Crime Prevention cluster, and I can say that later this year, for 25, the department will introduce to Cabinet proposals how to deal with this matter further, as well as in the JCPS cluster. On the second part of the question, Home Affairs is responsible for deportation of all foreign nationals from DCS facilities, and therefore we cannot, and we do not have the statistics on deportation. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. I now recognize the Honourable Ramlabeng, who will ask the first follow-up question.
Thank you so much, House Chair. Regarding the protocol of the management of foreign nationals, remind detainees and people who are detained for deportation or immigration, what are some of the challenges encountered by the DCS in the implementation of the protocol, and how is the department addressing the challenges in order to have a smooth and operational operations? Thank you, House Chair.
Thank you. The Honourable Minister.
Chair, I didn't catch the whole question, but what I want to say, yes, there are certain protocols, and part of those protocols is, for instance, say that a person is a foreign national and parole has been granted. It is accompanied by a court order to ensure that deportation takes place. Even when it comes to sentencing of certain foreign nationals, the court may make a decision that after a specific period or after the sentence has been served, that that person be deported because, of course, it is a contravention of our, can I say, immigration laws. So that can happen. That's part of the protocols. And where it is applicable, we do follow that.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The next supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Mwali.
Thank you, Chair. In light of the two oversight visits that were conducted by the committee in Gauteng and in the KZN region, it was noted with great concern the amount of overcrowding in these regions, particularly Motapi and Pietermaritzburg management area were noted to have almost half of the population as foreign nationals. Now, Minister, can you tell this House and the people of South Africa what is the estimated cost of detaining foreign nationals in our correctional centers, and how does this impact the department's budget and the resources allocated? Thank you.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. Can I say to the Honourable Member, we don't have an overcrowding problem only in KZN. We have it in all the regions. Now, to give an indication that an inmate is costing the taxpayers of South Africa 463 Rand per day. That is the cost. At the moment, we have just over 25,000 foreign nationals in all our facilities. In the end, if we could repatriate all and deport all those foreign nationals, we will have a saving of 4.2 billion Rand annually. So you heard the previous answers from the Honourable Minister for Justice, and it is a process, but it is not a simple process. And furthermore, to have the understanding of the concept of overcrowding, we have about 108,000 beds in our facilities. The sentenced inmates, offenders, are about 103,000. So we have enough beds for the sentenced inmates. But our problem is that we have just over 60,000 of remand detainees awaiting trial, and some of them are even waiting almost 10 years for their trial to be finalized. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Engelbrecht.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Honourable Minister, in light of the strain that these detentions relating to migration offences place on the prison system, would you be in support of revising the current legal process which requires offenders to serve sentences prior to be repatriated in favour of a catch and repatriate policy to expedite deportation without prolonged imprisonment? If not, why not? And if yes, can you provide details? Thank you.
Honourable members, may I remind you that the supplementary question consists of one question. The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. Yes, I will support such a, can I say, policy. Anything that can assist that we can deal with the problem is welcomed by myself. And let me say one other aspect is, at the moment, we have 2,127 people awaiting trial, and they couldn't afford a bail of 1,000 Rand and less. 2,127. So if we can get those people in the system, where some of them couldn't even afford a bail of 100 Rand. So we are putting taking measures to see what we can do to get them where those bail applications can be dealt with, to get them out of our facilities. But it's not that simple, because you have to go back to court, and at this moment, on a review of the bail, we only have a success rate of 3%. This is a, can I say, complex problem because people are presumed not guilty until found guilty, if I can put it that way, or innocent. And that is our problem. And any proposals where we can speed up the system, even if we can get certain special courts for them. And I am in talks with the Minister of Justice, and she has replied, we will see how we can take certain actions to speed up the process. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Diale.
Thank you very much, House Chair. Minister, it's common cause that it costing money for the Department of Home Affairs to deport sentenced foreign inmates. We all know that they are not released to be in custody in their countries, with evident inadequacy in border management in South Africa. When Correctional Services releases them for deportation by Home Affairs, are we not releasing sentenced prisoners back to our streets without them serving their due sentences, thus enabling them to commit further crimes? Thank you.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. That's part of the problem, because they must first serve their sentence before we can release them. As I said, the complexity lies with specific legislation determining that correctional services must see to all sentenced persons. If we can get a system, of course, and they did not serve, saying that we must first finalize it, that people can be sent back, still have to serve certain sentences. Of course, the logic principle is, why do we have to finance foreign nationals in our facilities on the taxpayers' money, where they can go back to their country and their country must see to it that they finish their sentences? That is the ideal situation. Your problem is, some of these people, when they have completed their sentence, they're coming out, they of course contravene certain immigration laws, they are sent back to their country, but the next day they are back. So my colleague, the Honourable Minister for Home Affairs, we have both challenges to ensure that our borders becomes more secure. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Honourable Members, question number 19 has been asked by the Honourable Cameron to the Minister of Police. The question is asking whether family members appointed by Richard Mdluli to the Crime Intelligence Division are still employed by the South African Police Service. The Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, House Chair. The response that we have is the same as the response we've given earlier on, to say, on one hand, the matter is considered to be sensitive and therefore requires due processing via the Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence. And we must at this stage even appeal to the Speaker and to you that it is time that this committee begins to function so that we don't have things that get stalled. But of course, as we said on a number of other matters, we would want to process them in that particular fashion so that we can take into consideration whatever aspects that requires that kind of processing. That's our response, Chair.
The Honourable Cameron.
Thank you, House Chair. Minister, sorry, the sound didn't work.
Minister, I have it on good authority that they are still active members of the South African Police Service, and I obviously understand that it is sensitive. One son of Richard Mdluli allegedly currently works in crime intelligence, and the other one also in crime intelligence, specifically with regards to the grabber team. I'm afraid that it seems to have been hidden from certain parts of management, and obviously would suggest that the investigation is fast-tracked. Will you be able to undertake to cooperate with the Portfolio Committee on an open investigation as to whether these Mdluli family members are or are not employed? And if they are no longer employed, what were the circumstances of their leaving the South African Police Service? Thank you.
The Honourable Minister.
We indicated earlier on that there are challenges in crime intelligence, and they all require investigation. So if the committee were to take that decision, there's no doubt that we will not just cooperate, but we'll have to cooperate, because we are keen on ensuring that everything is in that division is transparent and that it is up to the level that it is required, and therefore we will certainly cooperate. Thank you.
Thank you. The next supplementary question is to be asked by the Honourable Taibosh.
Thank you, House Chair. Minister, if ex-Commissioner Richard Mdluli's nepotistic appointees are still active in SAP's rankings or dismissed, or are there any ongoing or concluded investigations, criminal or otherwise, by the police or IPIT relating to these allegedly nepotistic appointments? If not, why not? If yes, what are the details? Thank you.
Honourable members, must I just remind you again that a supplementary question is one question. So if you add the if not and the why nots and all that, it won't be responded to. The Honourable Minister.
Chair, thank you very much. The current investigations that we are talking about by Hawks, by the Inspector General of Intelligence and by ID are on two main aspects with details. First is on personnel, appointments and all of that, and the other side is on finances in crime intelligence. And therefore those matters fall into those two categories, and they will be investigated accordingly. Thank you.
The next supplementary question is to be asked by the Honourable Tebekulu.
Thank you, House Chairperson. Mhlonishwa Ngqongqoshe. Ngoba kuvela ukuthi kukhona umbutho obaqasha ngokungemthetho abasebenzayo emaphoyiseni abaziwayo njengoba ulungu elihloniphekileyo le-DA libakopolotile, engifisa ukukwazi ukuthi njengoba ufoma umdluli so to say, kuneyimoto ayithengayo ngemali estate wayinikezela kubangani nanomndeni wakhe, ngabe kulabo abazuzayo ukhona umnyango okwenzileyo ukuba ubuyisele incithakalo eyenziwayo ibuyele ekhulumeni ekoneni kwabo? Ngiyabonga.
Ngiyabonga kakhulu Mhlonishwa. Impendulo yalombuzo ithi zonke izinto engalungile ezibonakalayo ngohlobo lokuthi kuvele lento kuthiwa ama-allegations noma kuvele i-information ekhona kithina esesike sahlangabezana nayo ziyaphenywa njengamanje. Lowo nje inkosi ekukhulumayo uma kuwukuthi bekuyinto engakafiki kuthina isiyafika manje ifikile. So ifaka lapha emxhakeni walabo abaphenyayo bese ke kuba nophenyo olulodwa oluhlangene. Leyo mali uma kutholakala ukuthi yahamba noma yasetshenziswa ngokungemthetho kuyocaca ukuthi iyafuneka kulo owayisebenzisayo noma owazuzayo, and mayifuneka kusho ukuthi ifuneka ngempela ngoba nenyathelo eyikhombisayo ukuthi iyafuneka. Siyabonga.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Beasley.
Thank you, Speaker. Mr. Richard Manduli perfected the practice of political nepotism known as ANC cadre deployment and has in many effects criminalized the police force. Can the Minister give assurances that currently the most competent and qualified staff are being appointed to the police force as opposed to those appointed through nepotism and ANC cadre deployment? Minister, the public deserve better.
Honourable Minister.
We want to assure this committee, this House, that going forward, one of the things we have said we are going to do in one of the scheduled meetings already is to scrutinize adverts, how we do adverts in terms of specifics as opposed to general, is to ensure proper criteria of selecting people, is to ensure that people are that get appointed are in accordance with their own merit. Because it's clear if you don't do that, there are unintended consequences to the whole of government, to the whole of crime in the country and crime investigations and all of that. And therefore, it is our commitment that we want to see South African Police Service being professionalized, functioning effectively and efficiently, and up to the expectations of the people. And it is clear that it is skills and skills only in the main that become fundamental in the work of police, and therefore we are together there. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Honourable Minister, we will look into the matter that you raised about the lack of functionality of the Joint Standing Committee of Intelligence, so that we can ensure that these matters are properly processed in that forum. Thank you. Question number 71 has been asked by the Honourable Modise Mpia to the Minister of International Relations and Cooperation. The question is asking about how the government is working towards leveraging our diplomatic architecture to promote stability and contribute to long-term development and/or growth, given the ongoing conflicts across the continent. The Honourable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chairperson. I think the key issue, Chairperson, is that there is acknowledgement that our continent faces severe challenges as it relates to peace and security is concerned, which evidently has resulted in serious humanitarian crises. For example, Chairperson, the conflicts in Sudan and South Sudan, the eastern region of the DRC and Somalia, along with the instability in the Sahel region, poses serious risk to achieving continental stability and development. South Africa has concrete contributions to promote stability, Chairperson. For example, we serve as the chair of the AU high-level ad hoc committee on South Sudan, the C5, demonstrating unique leadership in our engagement and mediation efforts. South Africa hosted the signing of the Cessation of Hostilities Agreement, also known as the Pretoria Agreement, under an AU-led process between the government of Ethiopia and the Tigray People's Liberation Front, the TPLF. These actions underscore, Chair, amongst others, our dedication to foster peace and stability within the SADC region and beyond. One of our great commitments is to contribute towards a peaceful Africa in accordance with the AU Agenda 2063 by actively promoting one of the flagship programs that speaks about silencing of the guns by 2030. The nation, therefore, Chairperson, is dedicated to promote peaceful resolutions of conflicts and settlements and address the pressing challenges currently faced in Africa, particularly in the Eastern DRC, in South Sudan, and Somalia. Overall, Chairperson, we have played a critical role within the AU's collective effort to promote and advance peace, security, and stability and development across the entirety of the continent. Notably, we have served in a multiplicity of peacekeeping missions, and as a member of the AU PSC, is a member of the AU Peace and Security Council, Honorable Chairperson. In regards to our long-term development, we are resolved that South Africa's prosperity and growth are interlinked to that of the continent, in particular, Chairperson, utilizing the ACFTA as a catalyst in that regard. We are elated, Chairperson, to report that we were the first country within the Southern African Customs Union, SACU, to trade under the ACFTA regime. If members can recall, President Ramaphosa launched the first shipment under ACFTA to Kenya and Ghana on the 31st of January 2024. Lastly, Chair, we continue to actively participate in the Specialized Technical Committee on Trade, Tourism, Industry and Mining to contribute to the building of a prosperous continent by forging a common Africa strategy in the areas of trade, tourism and critical minerals. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Minister. The first supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Mudisa Mpia.
Thank you, House Chair. Deputy Minister, how is the government, through its diplomatic channels, working with other African nations to strengthen early warning systems and to improve the continent's ability to proactively address potential security threats?
The Honourable Deputy Minister.
Yes, Chair. I think it's important to report to Parliament that South Africa diplomatically are credited to all African countries. That obviously becomes then a force multiplier, Chairperson, of executing our most prominent pillar on foreign policy, that is the construct of Pan-Africanism. At the continental level, Chairperson, the Continental Early Warning System is one of the key pillars of the African peace and security architecture, the APSA of the African Union, with the express mandate to resolve continental conflicts, Honourable Chairperson, and provide timeous intervention and engagement on evolving violent conflicts. The Continental Early Warning System reports biannually to the African Union's Peace and Security Council, your PSC, and also report on the state of peace and security in Africa as presented, Chairperson, by the heads of states and of government at the AU Assembly. Furthermore, and more importantly, Chairperson, and key and critical, is the panel of the wise, consisting of a 5-person member of respective African personalities from various segments of society who have made outstanding contributions to the cause of peace, security and development on the African continent, and as an express mandate to provide support to the efforts of the AU, particularly in the area of conflict prevention. In this respect, Honourable Chairperson, South Africa's former Deputy President, Dr. Mnambi Ngcuka, is presently a member of this panel. In this regard, we continue to work with other African countries through the African Union and its peace and security architecture. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Minister. The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Smith.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. Deputy Minister, on the 29th of January, Rwandan President Paul Kagame referred to a statement released by President Cyril Ramaphosa following a phone call between the two heads of state as containing a lot of distortion, deliberate attacks, and even lies, alleging that much had changed substantially between the content of the conversation and the official South African statement released. If South Africa's diplomatic architecture is so strong, can the Deputy Minister explain to this House why this very public dispute took place between President Kagame and President Ramaphosa, and why the matter was seemingly handled so recklessly by the Presidency and DIRCO in the broader context of the conflict between Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of the Congo?
The Honourable Deputy Minister.
Yes, thank you very much, Chairperson. Probably it's important to indicate that South Africa's contribution within the Great Lakes region over decades has always been underpinned by the express authority of the sub-regional organization to which we are a prominent member about, and that is your Southern African Development Community, SADC. Our participation in the Great Lakes region, and in particular in this instance in the DRC, Chairperson, is as per mandate of SADC. Our contribution as a peacekeeping troop contributor to the Samim DRC mission is once again as per the express authority of SADC as a region. So that is important, Chairperson. The diplomatic engagements that followed the M23 movement's incursion into the east of Congo, in particular in the Goma area, Chairperson, was obviously warranted given the heightened difficulties that are being experienced not only by SAMI DRC but also by the MONUSCO mission in the DRC. And I think the engagement by President Ramaphosa has obviously been amplified in regards to peace diplomacy, but also broadly, Chairperson, the characterization of the non-state actor in the form of M23 rebel movement, which does not carry the express approval of SADC, of the East African community, of the AU's Peace and Security Council, nor of the UNSC. Thank you very much, Chair.
The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Zuma Sambutla.
Thank you. Deputy Minister, Agenda 2063 speaks and guides us on the long-term development and growth across the continent, such as African Continental Free Trade Area, regional cooperation, peace and stability, to name a few. Unfortunately, none of the above are possible without silencing of the guns on our continent, and Africa has become a prioritized region in the scramble for power and resources by the global superpowers, which started at the Berlin Conference in 1885. Conflict is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and whilst there are hidden hands in these conflicts, there's also gross human rights violations happening. We need to start admitting that besides the West, Africa's biggest problem is President Kagame. How are the discussions going with President Kagame in regard to the DRC after he threatened Mr. Ramaphosa? Thank you.
The Honourable Deputy Minister.
Yes, thank you very much, Chairperson.
Order, Honourable Members. Please proceed, Honourable Deputy Minister.
Yes, I think, Honourable Chair.
Order, Honourable Members.
Let me appreciate the important point.
Honourable Deputy Minister, I see there is intervention at the back. Honourable Mahlaule.
Chair, I wanted to raise on a point of order that the MK today is not raising that Honourable Sambutla speaking today is a maiden speech. Because he has never spoken in this parliament. It's the first time. We want to recognize
Order, Honourable Members.
In terms of which rule?
Order, Honourable Members. It may
Which
be
rule are you rising on?
No, Honourable Members. Honourable Members, let's proceed in an orderly manner.
Order.
Honourable Members. let's proceed in an orderly manner. The honourable member asked a question, an important question, and there's a response that is required. Let's allow the Honourable Deputy Minister to respond. The Honourable Deputy Minister.
Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honourable
Honourable Deputy Minister. Yes. Honourable Reddy.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. I once again rise in terms of 92. That Speaker, it's the second time in this session that he's stood up and made a speech without referring to a rule of order. He needs to be brought
Order,
to
honourable members.
It is becoming an occurrence now, and it's becoming fashionable.
Order, honourable members.
Please bring this house.
Order, honourable members. Order. Just calm down. I know it's late in the afternoon. Honourable members, let us respect the rules. Let's allow the Honourable Deputy Minister to respond. Honourable Deputy Minister.
Yes, Chairperson, let me firstly express my compliment to the Honourable Member for a maiden speech, to which I'm a very unique recipient, Tiabolela. Thank you very much, Chair. I think the Honourable Member have raised very important issues on peace diplomacy. And I think it's important for this House to understand, Chairperson, if you look at the difficulties and the conflicts within Africa, it's primarily centered on the question of political economy. So you look at the Lake Chad Basin, you look at the Horn of Africa, you look at the Great Lakes region, you look at the Sahel. All those difficulties center on the consequence of political economy. As a result, Chairperson, of the actors of both state actors and non-state actors. And that is a critical issue that we continue to raise with some of the big powers that evidently play a very unfortunate role within the African continent. I think the important issue, our engagement with Rwanda, obviously, it is a bilateral part of South Africa, but in relation to the Great Lakes region, and in particular in the DRC, it takes place through the express authority, Honorable Chair of SADC. Members will recall just recently there's been a joint session convened of SADC and the East African community, where the central topology has been cessation of hostilities, the withdrawal of the M23 movement from the territories that it is actually occupying. And that is the messaging at the diplomatic level that we have, convey through our membership in some of these regional multilateral forums to the leadership of Rwanda. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you. The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Mwango.
Thank you. Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. Arising from the Honourable Deputy Minister's response to the question at hand, can the Honourable Deputy Minister please elaborate on the specific diplomatic initiatives currently underway to encourage dialogue among conflicting parties, specifically in African countries where we have peacekeeping operations?
The Honourable Deputy Minister.
Well, Honourable Chairperson, South Africa is only active on peacekeeping operations as sanctioned by either SADC or by the United Nations. So I think that is an important issue. Look, Chairperson, if you look at our contribution that our peacekeeping troops have played in the Cabo Delgado region within Mozambique, where we have executed a fairly successful operation to the extent that there has been a incremental withdrawal, obviously, of our participation in that mission. If you look at our participation in the DRC, Chairperson, working obviously with in the realm of SADC and also the UN, given the fact that the UN Security Council had very express resolutions on how to resolve the difficulty in the DRC, especially in Goma. One of the key mechanisms, Chairperson, is through the support of the ad hoc verification mechanism, as led by the African Union's champion on peace and reconciliation in the form of the Angolan President Lourenço. If members could recall, there has been a ceasefire negotiated prior to this in November 2024, and the express, steward of the Luandan process is the AU champion on peace and reconciliation, obviously looking at how to harness the opportunity dividend as presented by the Nairobi process. So that is our participation within the broader discourse of peace diplomacy. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Minister. Honourable members, why do you want to be recognized, Honourable Member?
Thank you, House Chair. I'm rising in terms of Rule 65. I think it is very important to note that since we started here, the caucus of the MK has been disciplined. The caucus of the ANC is making noise at the back. They are drinking coffee. While you are busy working here, they are drinking coffee.
Order, Honourable
Their
Member.
addiction to coffee can't be our problem.
Order, Honourable
While
Member.
working here, they are drinking coffee at the back.
Order, Honourable Member. That is not a point of order. Honourable members, I'm not going to take order. Honourable members, I'm not going to take a discussion on this. The matter was this morning raised in the Chief Whip's forum. It was extensively discussed. The time allocated for questions has expired. Outstanding replies received will be printed in Hansard. I request members to stand and wait for the presiding officer and the mace to leave the chamber. That concludes the business for the day, and the House is adjourned.
They are drinking coffee.
I say,